You know, at Mona here, we're really, really grateful to be surrounded by those who strive to innovate and create incredible experiences that can impact people's lives. Experiences that are beautiful and unique and created by the most incredible people on the planet, the builders. We're here to celebrate builders today. And in just over a year here at Mona, we have united the largest collective of Web3 metaverse builders on the planet, builders from AAA game studios to architecture firms, some of whom you're going to meet here in just a few minutes. But first, I'm going to bring up Ty, who's going to be a round of applause for everyone here. And Ty, come on up.
Peace, everyone. I'm a little small. Okay, here we go. All right, peace, everyone. My name is Ty. Welcome to Builders Unite. I will be your MC for the evening. Builders Unite is a one-night celebration of metaverse world builders. Tonight, we honor builders globally, and we honor the one-year anniversary of the Filecoin Forum, which is one of the first ever metaverse build-a-thons. You can clap for that, yeah. In a year's time, we have connected with phenomenal builders who have continued to build phenomenal environments that transport connections through space and time. And it's such a delight to be hosting this live here in Lisbon, one of the architectural capitals of the world. So thank you to each and every one of you that have gathered here with us today. This evening, we'll be featuring 5 top metaverse builders who will offer live presentations and give us exclusive tours through their worlds. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So this evening, we have Fractilians, MattDoesDesign, Metageist, Vega, and TheMattEmpire. An added cherry on top, we will have a live VR performance by Metageist paired with a live immersive dance performance by myself. Yeah. And our amazing DJ, Senor Santos. Oh, there he is, Senor Santos eating his pizza. If you haven't gotten pizza yet, make sure you get some. But yeah, he has been providing the vibes, and he will be closing us off this evening with 2 hours of mingling while his DJ set is going live. So if you haven't gotten a chance to check out the photo booth or the art galleries or grab your Mona swag, don't worry, we'll have time after the presentations. So yeah, we've got food and drink in the back. Dessert will be coming out after our presentations as well. And also, we are thrilled to announce that our art gallery was curated in partnership with Daima for the TL, and the Talent House. So a lot of people have put energy into this activation, and we're just very happy to be sharing it with you this evening. Finally, we give thanks to Protocol Labs, who made this entire event possible. Shout out to Protocol Labs, thank you. Yes, and we are honored and grateful to be here kicking off ETHLisbon with you guys. So it's now my pleasure to transition us into our presentations of the evening. Let me just make sure. Okay. So our first presentation of the evening will be by Fractilians. Fractilians is a Mona metaverse builder, a VR artist, and digital arts educator. She currently works on the Builder Success team for Mona and for Decentraland DAO Facilitation Governance Squad. She is particularly fascinated by metaverse interop and collaborative builds. Today, Fractilians will be sharing a presentation about her builder's journey. Without further ado, I welcome to the stage Fractilians.
So for today, I wanted to do something to talk about my builder's journey. And for those of you who know Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, it's kind of my experience as a builder. And about a year ago, I heard about Monaverse through our awesome Metageist, who's here, an interview he did with Metanauts. And I wanted to share kind of like what it's like to be a total noob in terms of a 3D builder and come to the space and what happens. So yeah, this is what kind of this presentation is about. And then at the end, I'll be showcasing some of the worlds I've built. Okay, so this last year has been a roller coaster ride of learning, failure, perseverance, community, and triumph. And those of you who know the hero's myth, love Star Wars, that kind of fun shit. And this is kind of the journey and the process you go through, I think with learning in general, but like in the metaverse, a lot of times we, in the Discord and all this stuff, this is a lot of the stuff that comes up, and it helps you understand that you're it's normal, going through this and learning together. So call to adventure. So my call to adventure was that first Mona Build-a-thon, which happened about a year ago. And as a new builder, and I have for many years taught as a STEM educator, so I do come from digital arts background, but not the 3D game development world, like our friend here, Matt, and a couple others in here who are super badass. So when you come in, you're like, wait, what the hell is Unity? Like, how many panels does Blender have anyway? I don't know if you guys play with Blender, but infinite, endless panel land. And all these kind of things just coming in there and kind of exploring. And, being an educator myself, I've taught from like ages 5 to 80. It's always, I'm always with like, as the educator going, it's okay, embrace it. And it is true. It's just like, it's fun. It's like, it's cool I love being forever a kindergartner and learning and being in that space. Because that's when I think magic happens, because you don't know what's possible. So that's when you start breaking shit. And that's kind of my journey. Okay, so the supernatural aid of my journey was early on, there was no TheMattEmpire. He was a builder along with us. It was Matt and Justin, founders of Mona, along with Alex. And in the beginning, there was only one Matt. Those of you who know, there's many Matts. So my builder's journey was really jumping in the deep end. And I've always been the one to encourage, if you never built, come build. It's so fun. That's when you really learn what's going on. And even if you're not the one who builds in the end, your space, by building, you really learn what's possible. And then you can really communicate or work with whatever builder you have to create the magical world you have in your head. So I haven't really learned to swim well, but I make big splashes, and at least I stay afloat, and that's all you need. Come up for a gulp and come back down and just have fun and keep building. Okay, challenges. Yes, so much to learn, right? I am also a VR sculptor, so all the worlds that I'm going to show you guys, except a couple of the two down here were built in Blender, but the rest of the worlds that I'll be showing you guys are all Gravity Sketch sculpted. And within that world, again, there's so much to learn with Gravity Sketch, Blender, Unity in it, but that's the magic, because there's so much power in each one and how you can use each one and learn that workflow between them all. It's just pure fun. I remember the first time I put on my headset, I was like, holy shit, I'm in Tron, I'm in the software. This is like my happy place. Okay, so this is... That was the first time I ever had one of my Unity spaces into Playground, and it worked. So I was seriously in there playing that song, running around like a happy lunatic, like, this is so cool. So I was totally hooked. Like, I brought a model from Gravity Sketch to Unity to a real playing run-around world. So it's sometimes those small little moments that you're like, this is just so cool. Okay, so back to challenges. I think most of you have seen these crashes and windows. It's part of it. If you're not failing, then you're not really doing it right, I think. You have to fail a lot. I failed a lot. All the time. I still fail all the time. So thank you to, and part of it is, that builder's journey, the mentors and everybody along the way, and of course all these amazing builders, like TheMattEmpire, OG, Metageist, you name, there's so many. These are the ones that in the beginning there was a lot less of us, so we really bonded in health, but it really was like what you guys did, what you're creating really inspired me to keep learning, keep creating, because it's a lifelong journey. It's not like next year I'll know everything. Hell no. It's always changing. Technology is changing. And even when I taught, I would always tell the kids, like, it's a journey. Like, the process is similar. The tools will always change, but if you have that stoke, that'll keep you going. Like setting yourself that stoke level, revelation, the abyss, death, rebirth. A lot of times you're in that, like, why did I even embark on this journey? And to remind yourself of that kind of guiding light. Mine was always been to like learn to bring my 2D. I come from like a silk screen, recycled fashion background. And so like my goal has always been, how do I bring these creatures to life? So that's kind of always been my like, oh, I want to do that. So that's always kind of kept me going by embracing that builder's pill of what happens on that. So let's say, allowed me to realize it's not even about the end goal, but about learning how to embrace and trust the whole process of creation. And yeah, and that's when you start, magic things happen when you start building. I think most people who've been in there are like, then you get millions of ideas. That's usually what I've experienced. Transformation. I'm now a builder. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I build anyways. Just, right? You just got to jump in no matter what. It's return. Did someone say you build a builder, right? And like I'm sure like most people in here like who've built, like I have thousands of worlds I want to build, so that's kind of like a little beacon of like I can't wait till I learn these tools better to create again what I see in my head, because I'm still I have to put the work in the metaverse. Brick by brick, talking vert by vert, put the work in the metaverse. I'm talking brick by brick, talking vert by vert. This is what we do all day long. In the metaverse, I'm talking brick by brick, talking vert by vert, put the work in the metaverse. I'm talking brick by brick, talking vert by vert. Come on. That's unity. Those are custom avatars you can make, which are a hell of a lot of fun. That's actually Decentraland right there. So that was actually a video I showed earlier this week. It was part of a hackathon I was a part of in Bogota, and it was for a environmental research component research center that kids in schools could access and use. Everything in there would be open source and would be available as lesson plans for kids to learn about building the metaverse, environmental research, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's also like kind of a reflection of putting work in the metaverse. Boombox Head rocks. He's the musician. So I just wanted to finish up, show you a couple of the worlds, just to run around in there, and you can see what it's like. So this is my first world that I ever built, and let me see if the music, and it's using yours, okay? It's okay. This is Metageist's amazing avatar. So this world was built all in Gravity Sketch, and then it brought it into Unity and played around with all the textures and fun things. And there's still a couple POAPs hidden in here nobody's found. I hid them a little too well. So like a lot of this world here actually like is a reflection of a lot of like traditional paintings that I've created digital versions, and then I brought into a skybox. And then also have one of my favorite places in the world, the Bisti Badlands, which is that in the background, this place I'd love to go and explore. And like, so I bring a lot of elements that have inspired me. And this whole place is actually like, there's a little like journey and thing you're supposed to do, and it's in the front right there. So you have like this whole adventure and mission you're supposed to do. So if you come in here, you can do your mission and explore. And and this is our weird portal box that brings you to another crazy little world. So a lot of times I explain the art I do is like in the land of in-between, between order and chaos. So I think this is kind of a good reflection of my mind. And this is another little world. And this is Quetzalcoatl, is an Aztec butterfly god. So that's him up there ruling over the world. And this world is kind of like the rabbit hole world, and it's made up of all, again, Gravity Sketch elements and weird textures, all made up of, where is he? Here, he'll stop up there, and he'll become Quetzalcoatl. He's the cosmic flutterfly jester, so when you take yourself too seriously, that's when the jester comes and says, chill. You gotta not take yourself too seriously. Run around the metaverse. So within this world, there's tons of stuff. Down here, you can go down the rabbit hole and you could just go down, follow the bunnies. So there's all these levels and hidden worlds and hidden things within here. But this was a lot of fun because it was like a exploration how giant this thing is. Beastly. I think I went and made it too big, but it's fun to see what Unity can do, how you can push it, how you can break things, and it's just pure fun to see what's possible within here, and playing around with some of the reactor elements and all the stuff and the technology that Mona always is changing, and makes it even more fun to build and create and see how you can make things interactive and just playful. So all of this eventually, when there's video, there's like about 7 different movie screening rooms. So you can have whole conferences in here. Each area kind of, if you run around, there's 7 different screening rooms, including that one right there that you see in the distance. So like this was meant to be this kind of like psychedelic giant conference center. You can talk about consciousness studies or whatever you want in here. But yeah, that's just a little drop of my last year's journey as a builder. And really thank you guys for listening, and hope you guys build. Go build.
So I run MattDoesDesign, and my main focus is on world building, on level design, on interaction, and now building metaverse spaces, which I've done for the last year. So I'd like to talk about basically my journey, my experience with building in the metaverse, how it started, how it's going, and at the end I will show you guys a brand new space from a collaboration with Coldie. So this will be a brand new world exclusive. I'll show you at the end. So I'll just go into my background a little bit. So I worked in AAA, as Ty said, and most recently as lead level designer on Cyberpunk 2077, which, if you know the project, was kind of stressful. It was a bit of a traumatic experience towards the end of the development and the release. So about 6 months after that project came out, I decided, you know what, I can deal without this. And so I just took some time off, and I was thinking, well, I'll just do nothing for a while and see what happens and see where I go. And that was now over a year ago. And in that year, I've been kind of busy. And I'm going to show you what I've been busy with. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I didn't end up doing nothing. I did quite a lot. And that all started with building for the Filecoin Forum Buildathon. So when I left CD Projekt, I had this kind of idea of, well, I'm going to make some YouTube content, maybe. And I basically just started with a post, even just make some content about level design. I started with this post about some before and after pictures of work that I'd done on Cyberpunk, and it got picked up by a few places, and it just happened to get picked up by Matt Hurl, who's sat over there. And he sent me a mail and said, hey, do you want to come build for this kind of build-a-thon? And I didn't really know what the metaverse was, but I thought, okay, I'll do it, and if nothing else, I can just get some footage from that and cut it together into a video. And it just so happened that I won that competition, and it set me off on an amazing journey. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and it really just started this whole thing, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't do that. And after I did that, Mona offered me a chance to build the Coldie gallery. So this was a collaboration with Coldie to build a space for his decentralized drop. And it was cool. It was really cool to work with him. And this has been one of the great things over the last year, is that I've been able to collaborate with some amazing people on some really creative projects and basically, yeah, explore the limits of what you can do in virtual spaces. And yeah, working with Coldie was great. And in general, just working for myself as opposed to being employed was just such a pleasant change for me. It made life so much better. I was not working like 12 hours a day for 2 years. I was just working on stuff when I felt like I needed to work on stuff. So yeah, it was really awesome to be able to do that and to be able to work on a bunch of interesting projects like this one and like the Async project, which is here. And I feel like with all of this, is basically like Fractilians said, that it's a huge learning process. Every single thing that I've done in this has been, I didn't know what I was doing before I started, and I just tried something and it failed, and then I tried it again and it failed, and I tried it again, and it sort of worked a little bit. So I just kept going along that path, and all of this is like gain knowledge over the last year by just trying, just doing, and the platform is great because it allows you to do that, and the community is great. These people right here are great for helping. So yeah, with all of this, just trying to push the boundaries of what's possible. And I think that the best example of that I can show you is the most recent work that I finished, which is this space for Coldie's new collection. So what's really exciting about this space for me, and which is slightly different to any of the other work that I've done, is that this is like highly conceptual in a way that is really great. I mean, Coldie's great for that kind of thing. So the idea behind this is that he set out his decentralized drops, and for his collectors, if they decided to destroy 5 of their pieces, they would get something in return. At the time, they didn't know what they would get in return, but they get something in return. And 20 people decided to destroy 5 of his artworks. And so this space is about that journey. It's about the kind of the death of those pieces and then the rebirth into another form. So what I really like about this is the fact that this space, I feel, can kind of enhance the artwork or augment the artwork in a different way, like a more experiential way in the metaverse. So what you see here is this canyon. We're on the moon, obviously. This is, Coldie's space. He loves being on the moon. And we run down this canyon into the darkness. This is our hero's journey, Fractilians. This is our abyss right here. So we enter into the darkness. We don't know what we're going to see. And then we have the light at the end of the tunnel. So this sort of represents like the death or the rebirth. And we transition into this chamber, which is all of the destroyed pieces. So every single piece here was destroyed. It no longer exists. And this is like in memory of all of these pieces. And we can physically do our ascension as the pieces did. If we stand here in the middle, we will start to ascend. So we're ascending up into a UFO, obviously, because again, Coldie likes to use UFOs in his work. So yeah, riffing on that. And we ascend into this cloud-like landscape with all the ascended pieces. So these are all the pieces of artwork that were given for the 5 destroyed. And these are obviously like 3D, designed to be viewed in VR. And yeah, I think this is what how I see the future of the metaverse going. Basically, pushing the platform to its limits in ways which you can't do in other mediums. So you couldn't do this gallery in any other medium, I don't think. And you can basically do things better here than you could in any other form. And I think we'll end up doing much more of that in the future. It's definitely what I want to do in the future with the metaverse. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really. Yeah, thanks very much. So apparently I've got a few minutes. If anyone wants to ask a question, then shoot. So the question was it built in Unity? Yes. So that's a Mona tool called the player property volume, where you can set the gravity to be whatever you want. So that is setting the gravity to be like lower and lower and lower, and you float up, basically. Yeah. There's one other cool thing I can show you in this space. So we got another question? Where? Oh, hey. Can other 3D assets be imported? Yeah. By what 3D assets? Yeah. So this is just on the Mona platform. So you can use whatever avatar that you want to use in this. You can create your own avatar. You can use the Ready Player Me system. This avatar belongs to Mr. Metageist here. This is his custom-made avatar. You can import 3D assets as artifacts here, which can have links on them, which can take you to other places. Yeah, so it's open for that. One thing I want to show you here is this other transition. So this space is connected to the existing Coldie space. So this all exists in one big Coldie world. So yeah. Cool. Any other questions before I disappear? No? Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so my name's Lee. I make art under the name Metageist. I was around the time when COVID locked us all up inside our houses. I lost all of my work in one fell swoop, because what I was doing is I was using virtual reality art tools and trying to monetize that, and that was extremely difficult. But what I was doing is I was going to festivals and universities and schools, and also charity work in hospitals, teaching children and adults how to use these VR art tools to create virtual reality experiences and characters and things like that. Luckily, just as we got into lockdown, I noticed that people were suddenly able to sell their virtual reality artworks for real money. And of course, this was extremely lucky. And I sort of dived down this crypto art rabbit hole at the start of 2020. And of course, have not really looked back since, and had an extremely, an amazing journey, and extremely, I feel very grateful for that. I've been made a lot of NFTs. I started off on Super Rare, did a few one-of-ones. Actually, Coldie bought my first NFT, which was really nice. So there's like these weird little connections here, these nodes on this network of the crypto art community. And it's been a really sort of serendipitous week here with the Mona team, meeting all these people face to face, and it's really nice to see these connections over time. But one pack I did on Nifty Gateway, I did a blind pack. So what I decided to do, perhaps against my better judgment, was to start doing 3D art when I'd never done it before and try and sell it. But my angle was, I'm new to this, my characters are kind of ropey and a bit naive, but you can join me at the start of my journey. So I did a blind pack where you didn't know which character from 8 different characters you were going to get, and they were $60. And one of those in the pack was this rare little guy called the Hermit that you can see on the screen now. So he's just like a little hermit crab guy. He's really wise. He's got a stylish little green mustache. And he was one of my favorite pieces. And this is exactly, almost to the day. You can see it was 22nd of October 2020, so this is 2 years ago now. It feels like it was about 2 months ago, to be fair. And then later on, I did a second pack, the MetaFiler 2-pack. And this one is the evolution of that guy, the Temple Hermit. Now, it's the hermit crab, but he's started to grow, and he's got a little temple on his back. And you can see as he turns, there's these little windows and little bridges and things like that. The idea behind the MetaFiler and the word itself is that these are my ideas of life forms that have arisen in a simulation. So metaverse native life forms. And I expect to be injecting artificial intelligence into all of these creatures and have them running around much more dynamic spaces in the future. But we're going to take one step at a time with that. So we're building these different characters. And each of these 8 different characters have like a lineage. And as I create more and more NFTs, they're often related to these characters and they change over time. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is that now the little Temple Hermit has evolved into this space. So in front of you here, you can see in the distance, there's this sort of temple, and this is the hermit itself in his latest incantation or iteration. I've made my world far too difficult to get into, and I've learnt my lesson, and I won't be doing this again, because it is quite tricky to get in. Okay, nailed it. So in here, you can see that we've got the hermit over there, and a bunch of other MetaFiler. Made giant sculptures of them, really risen them up. This is a sculpture park in Monaverse. And this is the first Unity build. This whole space was also made in Gravity Sketch. So everything in here, all of it, was made in virtual reality just by using my body and my arms to create all of the polygons. It's not exactly the most optimized way of doing things, but it does mean that you really get a sense of being an architect or a sculptor in VR for VR. So you can see in some of these characters that they're all quite simple shapes. So all of these lines, like that green swoop, that is me pulling the trigger and just drawing a shape and then sort of tweaking it until I'm happy with it. So they're made in improvised sessions. I never use reference images or anything like that. I like to think that they come from the fact that I'm using virtual reality art tools. The great thing about this process is that Gravity Sketch is free. Unity is free, Monaverse is free, you don't need to buy any land or anything like that. And you can just, as long as you've got a half-decent computer and a headset that costs $299, you can do this sort of thing if you can persist through all the pain and suffering of doing things wrong 6 or 7 times before you get it right. So I found that even though I've been thinking about this stuff for years, there was never a platform that was capable of doing what I wanted to do, which was create a space that I could drop portals into and attach onto, and therefore organically grow until eventually, perhaps in a decade's time, I've got a sprawling computer game that you can play. So this little character here is obviously my weird, creepy little logo, but the rocket pack on his back is also a metafiler. So if you look closely, it's actually a little bug. And I've got hoodies, and if you buy a hoodie, you can use Instagram to pop up a rocket pack on your back on the hoodie as well. So he's another little example of a metaverse native life form. So I'm going to jump up onto this platform. Jump up here. Here we've got the Splinter Bug. He's a nasty piece of work. The sound effects on him are horrible. We used scissors and things like that to make him. He's a metafiler as well. You can see here that also in Monaverse, you can create canvases. And so you can add artwork onto the walls of your spaces. So as you sell, if you want to sell a space to a collector, for instance, once they own it and this gallery is an NFT in their wallet, they can then update not only the 2D canvases, but they can also update the sculptures as well. So all of these things are artifacts that can be changed out and replaced with other things. So we've got Coldie up there, we've got a couple of mine or whatever, but you can see if you click on these, when you're looking at them, you will go through to an NFT. So if you want to use a space like this to sell your own NFTs, it's a great way of doing it. It's an experiential shopping experience, basically. So, whoa, that was close. So I'm just going to go up to the 3rd floor and find a portal. The portal utilities are really good. So instead of having to sort of rely on being neighbors on a sort of real estate metaverse platform, you can just, whenever you like, just swap out your portals. So you can choose your neighbors and essentially teleport your build around at any point. So let me just try and climb this slippery tentacle. So, of course, the Temple Hermit is there. You can see he's got a little face still, so it's still the same character. It's just now he's pretty badass. He's got 3 floors, and he's got this little computer game inside him. This is the Saracenia Vortex. This is an example of one of my sort of carnivorous portals. I've got this. I've started doing a lot of portals inspired by deep-sea fish and carnivorous plants, and essentially sort of natural traps, as it were. So, you know, like an anglerfish has a lure, and then the Venus flytrap attracts flies and kills them. The reason behind that is that I think, as much as I am extremely excited about the potential of the metaverse, I think we are opening ourselves up to some severe manipulation if we're not careful. So I think it's really important that we sort of like have, if we're going to jump into these portals, we need to be a little bit tentative about that. We need to think that, are they going to snap shut behind us and steal our data? So I've got another one that will essentially pop up your MetaMask wallet and pretends to wipe your digital existence away from you. But that's not in this one, but that's the flickering veil. So that's why they kind of look the way they do. And these are all, like I say, handmade in Gravity Sketch and sold as NFTs that you can then put into different spaces. There will be a marketplace in the future as well in Monaverse, so you'll be able to create sculptures and avatars and wearables and spaces and get them all within the same space. So my ambition is to just create lots of these collections and make elaborate artisan digital portals for collectors to put into their spaces and link their spaces together. I've also got wanting to like try and sort of work on that membrane between IRL and URL. I also 3D print my models. So if anyone's interested in seeing how these things can manifest in the physical world, this sculpture, I know you can't really see it, but if you want to come and look at it at any point, come and say hi. This is cast in bronze, and it's an augmented reality sculpture. It was made in Gravity Sketch, the same tools that all of this was made in, but then brought into reality. And if you own one of these as a collector, you can return to it every week and get a new 3D artwork delivered to you. So I curate a show of art by other artists from inside the sculpture. And yeah, I'm just trying to do a lot more of that, and that's something I'm really excited to pursue and go a lot larger with in the future. That's it, really. Sorry about all the umming. This is where I'm at. If anybody's got any questions, please do let me know or come and say hi afterwards. And yeah, thank you very much.
Now, if you haven't heard of me, I am the MattEmpire, Matt Marshall. I live in Osaka. There we go. ASMR, all of you. I've been living in Osaka for about 16 years now. My Japanese is very bad. But in that time, I have done a lot of stuff on the side. So I've just been doing the English teaching thing because my element of responsibility is as small as possible, with the hours as short as possible, and being comfortable as possible. And Osaka's been great for that. That said, I've always been a creator, and I've always been a learner of sorts. And learning 3D, game development, product development, writing dev docs is just my thing. So having an outlet that allows me to kind of do everything in one space that I can share with other people is really, really useful. If anything, if the algorithm taught me anything, it was just that one time there was a Mona competition thing. I was always going through, I'm going to be better, I'm going to finish my projects, I'm going to do all these things, but I'm too busy learning. So in this case, it's like, all right, I started getting to the point where I will focus on a finished project. And at that time, Mona came up and said, here's a competition, take your skills and do that. So thank you, Google, for the one algorithm unit that actually is quite good. But before that, who was I? So I studied graphic design many, many, many years ago. Then as soon as I got into the real world, I realized that I didn't like graphic design. So I moved on to web design and every other kind of digital thing that I could get my hands on. So I looked at web, multimedia, pre-visualization, toys, game design, and all sorts of things in Australia, which was great. But as a freelance designer, stability is less of a thing that you get to choose from. The game studio that I was working for, unfortunately, didn't get any funding, so I had to move on. And a friend basically said, hey, these guys in Japan will take anyone. Do you want to do that? I was like, sure. Moved to Osaka. So that's that story real quick. But in that time, I would consider myself an amateur creator. So the goal was learning 3D, animation, sculpting, modeling, like interactive experiences. The list was forever long. And it's one of those things where I will learn something about halfway through a project and it's like, well, I could do this better now. And start again and again and again. And when you do that for 16 years, you start getting a little bored with the end result of not that much. So, 1 year ago, they gave me this one algorithm thing, which was like, try that. And managed to win the sci-fi section of the Mona Filecoin bounty. This is a space that won. This is actually the first space that I ever made. I usually focused on character design and animation and stories, I guess you could say. But these guys were purely a space, and it's like, well, some of that information will carry over to spaces, and I managed to make this. So I could show that just quickly. So this is a space, and back then, 1 year ago, they were pretty determined to sort of say a 50 by 50 meter space. Turns out you don't have to do that. And this is one of the things that I brought to Mona, I think, is, okay, how can we push this medium to as far as possible? And what is not 50 by 50 meters, which turns out is an O'Neill cylinder. But the thing is, with any Web3 space, generally you have to optimize in a way to make it work in that environment. And we're looking at that a bit more in this in a second, I guess. But in this case, so you look at the distance, for example, and like those O'Neill signs are actually like warped to make it look like it's further through perspective and things like that. And in that process, I was helping as much as I could. You had a lot of builders going through the space and having a difficult time with Unity. So I was like, all right, well, I know this pretty well because I've been playing with it for so long. What can I help here? So in the Discord, I was like helping as many people as I could while I was making this, and then finding out, okay, how far can we push a simple Mona space? And this is not as simple as one would expect. But say, for example, we have like the Earth just orbiting around the space. We have the sun there. We have all sorts of elements of that experience. And now I want to get into this space, since now we put canvases in and things like that. We didn't have access to that 1 year ago. So there was a lot of, okay, how do I make this cool but future-proof, and also, so it was a very interesting journey in regards to what can I do with this space? And luckily I won, and then I asked the guys, hey, do you want to employ me because I can tell some things? And they go, sure, and the rest is history. Now I am the guy to try and help other people not fail as much. A lot of people have mentioned that so far, where it is a learning curve 100%, but if you've never done Unity, if you've never done Blender, if you've never done all of the applications, and there's a few you can use, like how do you teach these people to make a space that works? And with Web3, especially with Mona on a browser, there's a few limitations that you have to abide by, but not as many as, say, other situations. So the idea there is, how far can you push a space in a limited amount? So let's go into a bit of that for a bit. So I'm the builder support guy. I'm in the Discord all the time saying, this is how you should do that. You can't do it that way. So you either love me or hate me for the information I will tell you, but all of the no's don't do this. And there's a few of them, because in a Mona space, you have to work with the graphics card, RAM, how good is the computer, how are you using that space, and all those sorts of things. One thing I've picked up in the last year, though, is that helping people achieve their vision is quite difficult when the starting point of that vision is everywhere. So the interesting thing with the metaverse is that instead of just game design, where you'll just, I learned game design and I can do these sort of things, there's a lot of people coming into the space from not game design. The problem with that is game design allows you to create the better spaces. So being able to merge those two spaces in one to allow people to build whatever they want is a process. I'll say that much. So on that, we have people coming in from architecture, music, communication, science, social, theatre, information therapy, services, art, education, industrial design, products, marketing, entertainment, medicine, and many more. There are lots and lots of spaces that could utilize Web3, metaverses, all these sort of things. But if you'll note, there is no game design in that category. So all of these people need to learn how to do some element of game design in order to make a Mona space run smoothly. You can definitely grab one of the big high polygon spaces, put it in Unity, and that'll look amazing, but it will also run at 2 frames a second, which is not exactly the experience you want. So getting people to that level of creating that vision and making it work. Now, where that works is a big part of it. So you could do Web3, browsers, all those sorts of things. We've got VR, AR, MR, XR, all of the Rs. I'm sure there'll be more soon. And each device you use will define how you create the space. So, for example, a standalone VR like the Quest 2 is a very limited device. It's basically a phone. The catch with VR, you need to run at basically 90 frames a second, so your user doesn't throw up or feel sick. And that's not the best experience for anyone. So basically, being able to design your space to work on the platform you want is very important. So talking about game development, which is what I've done in my off time just because I enjoy doing it, that's a very important thing. So creating digital experiences for entertainment purposes. We all know Fortnite. We all know Cyberpunk 2077. There's a lot of things there. But what we're looking at nowadays is an experience development. So we're looking at creating digital and physical experiences for all of the purposes. So if you have someone in therapy, there has been results that if you're trying to help someone through that in VR, they are more open because there's less judgment from the avatar sitting across from you. So architecture, you could just send a link in Mona and you don't have to download anything, you don't have to do it. It's just 100% a thing that you can do very easily, which is great. But you do have to go through the process of doing it. So the first thing you need to do is figure out where do you want this to happen. Now a desktop, like this, or a computer is much higher device. So you can do kind of whatever you want, especially in Unreal 5, which does some amazing stuff. Unity's getting there as well. You can kind of do whatever you want, which is great, but you have to download a client. You have to do all of these sort of steps in regards to get it to everyone. Not everyone has a good computer. Not everyone has all these devices. So that is the limitation of that. It's great, but also not. Then you go desktop VR, higher level, standalone VR, mobile, and of course other things. If you ever wanted to make a phone on your iWatch, for example, if you're that way inclined, you could. It'd be fun. The next thing, though, is your platform. So on each of those devices, we have different approaches to make it. So we have the application or the client. You can download the app. It takes a long time. Like some games are like 25 gig, 30 gig now, and that's not very accessible by anyone. We have pixel streaming or the cloud, but you have the problem where there's a little bit of lag between what you do and the result. So it can look better, but it has that a problem with that sort of thing. And then there's browser experience with WebGL, WebGBU, and this is a whole growing industry that allows people to create whatever they want. Mona is the browser at this point. We will be adding more experiences in the future, but by making the browser, there's many different metaverses that are opening up that allow you to create these experiences that I can just send you a link and it will open and work, which is cool. The problem with that is the device you choose is the polygon count, the material count, the lighting, all of these things play a big part in how well that experience runs. And if it runs badly, someone will log in and then they will log out. And you don't want to do that. So basically, you need to design your space to that. Now, if you look at the left, your left, that is a very high polygon asset, for example. That would work on a desktop in some of the latest game engines. But we can't do that. Decentraland, that's on the right. There's limitations because they're trying to build for everything. Mona, on the other hand, tries a different approach where you can design what you want as long as you can make it run. So if you are only going to be on a desktop browser, you can go on the second one, which is pretty good, on a hero asset or things like that. However, if you're doing a vase at the back of a room that is approximately 2 kilometers that way, you could use the far one on the right. So choosing how you create your asset will depend on where it's going to be. And that's a very important thing. We have lots of people who haven't come from a game design background that all of their assets will be the one on the far left. Which of course doesn't run very well at all. So it's like, why isn't this working at 2 frames a second? Because that. My goal is to basically teach people how to get from that to any of the other ones to allow their space to run really well. So, we basically did this so I can zip through this really quick. If you're going high end, you can have high poly count, more materials, large textures, large file size. You need a more powerful computer. So if you have $2,000, great. If you don't, not so great. So therefore not as accessible. On the low end, you'll have limited poly count, limited materials, limited textures, limited file size, but it'll work on any device, which is great, but that experience will be limited in some way. What I loved about Mona was the fact that you could design your experience as you see fit depending on where you want to go at. So a lot of those limitations are not removed, but open to interpretation, which is a lot of fun. One of the things that really blew my mind with Mona the first time was like going into Unity, pressing a button, dragging it onto the browser and working. And then I just like send that to a friend and off you go. So that was really, really cool, and it's like I was hooked as soon as I did that. And then it's like, okay, how can we explore this space as much as we want to? And that's what the last year has been. So as much as I'm helping other people, I have 20 million other projects where it's just like, okay, what else can we do? And one of the fun things with all of this, and this applies with language, any skill that you get, once you know the rules, it's really fun breaking them. And that's one of the things that I've been doing over the last year is, okay, we have this new feature, how can I break it? We have this new feature, how can I push that to some stupid degree? And some of these experiences were like elevators where you fly around when we had collisions on a space. I made a Dance Dance Revolution arcade machine. The experience wasn't great, I will say, but it worked. So that was 100% a thing. And to me, just being able to have that experience of, I did that, and then never playing it again because the experience isn't very good for third-person experiences. With Reactor, you can use it's a limited control of interaction purely because we don't want open scripting in a browser. Very security risk situation. So we had to come up with a way to, how do we create interaction with animation, for example. So Reactor is like, okay, we have this tool, let's see what we can do with that. So I did a multi-key pickup, which opened a door. So you have whole gamified situations, which I think is where a lot of metaverse spaces will be fun. And that's kind of one of the big things, is if you're going for a large audience, fun, interesting, interactive, animation-based experiences are the best way to go. I did a player counter. We didn't think we could do it. It did work, so that was great. I made a jumping castle, which was a lot of fun. Using all of these new features together to create one experience that allowed, like, basically the feeling of a jumping castle, which is weird in third person on a browser. And of course, Fall Guys, if you know that game, is basically a very popular interactive experience where competition is everything. I was like, okay, what can we do with that? So resetting a space, and all of these other elements of making it very gamified with a limited tutorials or a limited base of information was a lot of fun. And the problem solving to me is part of the fun rather than part of the problem. So you have a lot of these builders talking about failing, and that's part of the process, and it is. And exploring and building is a really important part of pretty much any skill. But I find that game development or experience development, the breaking is actually half the fun, and you get the whole happy little accidents thing on a regular basis. So a lot of the things that I've created, well, that's cool, I didn't plan it, but let's run with it, and I would change the whole space experience because of that mistake. So being able to game dev in different perspectives, once again, the architecture, the therapy, the music, all of these sort of things, allows you different insight into creating experiences online and what is important to you. And I think that's one of the big pluses for the whole experience. And yeah, I'm the guy to help with that. You've probably seen, if you've looked into Mona, or you will hear my voice, because most of the tutorials, the docs, all of that were created by me. We have a bigger team now for that, so we can help with that a lot. Thank you. And that's been a journey as well. So being able to get people across that line, like in Discord, coming as like, how do I do this thing that I know nothing about? It's like, well, do this, check this doc, watch this workshop. It's like, cool, thanks. And that is a great feeling for me, whereas like education is kind of the be-all, ever-all. And unfortunately, because of that, I've not focused on the spaces that I want to do. I want to break more things. There are so many things I want to break, but to me, being able to allow builders to create their vision wherever they come from is basically the goal. So that's me, and that's where I've come over the last year. It has definitely been a different year from all of the ones before it, and it's been great. The community, the people I meet, these events, they're fantastic. And I just want to thank all of you, actually, for coming to these events and creating these amazing experiences in real life, and then hopefully maybe taking these into Mona and seeing what happens when we break stuff. So that's about it. Have a great day, and happy building.
Hello, my name is Vega, VXGX, as some may know me. I want to offer you flowers and gold and food and mental health and awareness of self. I am an open disciplinary artist, a new media director. My main focus is in the cognitive maps and the design of today's multi-layers of creativity in reality. The multi-layer of creativity in reality. In short, if you can hear me back there, in short, I study metaverses, and where I tend to leave my mind in them and extend the edge. I bring a cool collective sense of self, and I've been doing production and pre and post-production immersive works for some time now. And just to make sure, I want to make sure we can all like check in real quick, okay? If everybody can hear me, I want you to close your eyes. I got some eyes closed. Everybody's really great. I'm going to walk around and take some wallets. Ah, there's laughs. Good, good, good. This is to make sure you have safety in the body and help generate some goodness, okay? While purifying some badness that might have happened. Although negative and positives are the same to me. They offer insights. All right, now gather that goodness, gather that goodness. Please close your eyes if you have them open. Close them. I'm watching every one of you. I watch the builders over there too. Good, are you ready? Great, now, one sec. Now let's think about some challenges that may have happened. Toss those in the mix. We're gonna do an alchemy thing going on here. And breathe a couple times. Breathe deep. Give me 3 of those. Yes, take your time. All we have is space. Thank you. All right, that is today's offering. You can open your eyes. Thank you so much. That's my presentation. No, I'm kidding. We're back here. My presentation is titled, The Power of Worlds, the Metanoia. It's going to have a bit of building inspiration, existing as self, the meta-mental, the stitch between the conscious and the subconscious, and a bit of IPFS coordination tech. Yeah. Better, bigger, and expansive communications, what I say. I work in multi-realities. That's me. All right. I like to start with some of my case studies and awesome projects and how I implemented it with my pillars in play. These are some of my latest projects that are happening now. I'll start from level 1 to level complex. This is a bit of a summary. When I first started out building and leaning into this space, I set out to both explore my art and to see how I could bring some ideas to some roadblocks that might have been in the way. This is the cake shop, level 1. It is inspired to help a small e-commerce space extend its space, planned to be built on Mona. Sometimes real estate is hard to find, and in some areas, and for small businesses, this was a way to express a concept. That way, they would have been out of reach and also funding. It's a really cute space. Level 1. I also like to mention that through that exploration, I ended up thinking about entertainment. And I developed a couple things with that. I direct projects, and in recent, I produced this music video called Wolf Moon. Wolf Moon, we decided to capture motion, parts of the performance, and the process found out, why not implement it into the metaverse? And we use a token gate with the eyeball, which is really sick. So if you go on there, you can use the eyeball, log in, and watch a full music video. Here's a little bit of test. I thought it'd be louder. Thank you, Emily Jackson. This is Wolf Moon. This is some of the CGI we put together, some of the face models, iterations. This is her full transformation in the metaverse. Happy Halloween. This idea basically came from, we'll go up the next. I heard not too long ago that Travis Scott performed in Fortnite, right? He had 42 million viewers, but only made 300K. If you decided to build in the Monaverse with the same amount of viewers, cutting out the middleman and charging $1, he would have made $42 million. I want to see if anybody gets quiet when I say big numbers. Which is pretty sick, just to take that consideration. That means that any artist could have done that with their own plays. They could have built a whole stage, could have done a whole situation. In that process, that journey, I found myself alongside a great builder by MattKit, and we decided to build the Meta Grand, which is a theater space. It's a metaverse theater space that connects all the other spaces as hubs. So we can have MattEmpire space connected. We can have MattDoesDesign spaces connected. We can have Fractilians and Metageist. Now with that, I decided to go into public goods. And I found myself at Protocol Labs one day. This is the rest of the theater spaces. He's actually building it right now. He sent it to me this morning. Next up is the public goods situation. You'll see on the screen 3 Jewels, a meditation studio I work with and volunteer. And then Sisu.xyz, Eco-Culture Accelerator. 3 Jewels, they are a Tibetan-based evolution of meditation, physical and mental teachings, currently in NYC. And with the help of friends, they are in the process of preserving the teachings that have been passed down for many, many generations. With the metaverse, they can help do that. This is part of their deck that we put together. Through IPFS, we can definitely hold these teachings. They have also hosted an annual wonderful event called the Met Gala at the Knockdown Center. These are more of their deck. The Met Gala, which is happening next year in May, was one of the first places to host an IRL and URL event. And we're hoping to put it in Mount Meru. This is some of the concept that we put together for the altar space. This is what we will develop and put in the center of the space to connect the IRL and URL space. I think I showed this to you, Matt. What do you think? Yeah, you like this? Yeah, I know, right? It's dope, it's dope. You get a little meditate, get to hang out. This is Mount Meru. Me with alongside a couple of other meditators put together the space and reference a lot of old teachings. We'll see if this plays. We're online right now. There it goes. Built-in Blender. I like gold, circular things. Is that Abel? I see NC. And then through that, we decided to do a membership with their 3-diamond Lotus NFT. This NFT grants you membership to their teachings that we preserved in the database. It's really cool. Every student of theirs, which becomes a teacher eventually, can hold on to their teachings. And with the process of time that NFTs does, they capture time, we can invest in giving more back to the community. These are some more references. And I was really stuck on this one because I felt the metaverse could help inspire a better concept in organizations, a DAO that is proxy-based. There are so many cool projects, including my friend Sisu's amulets. This one was based on the wearables of eco-culture. They came to me and asked if I could help develop 111 unique NFTs. I spent about a month every night till 4 in the morning developing these. They are unique. They are also tied to membership to the database. And you also get an IRL version of this. And through that, they help fund and help bees. I like bees. But because of this work above, I felt my love of science had really started to uplift. Big shout out to those who work in therapy and decentralized science. A quick shout out to these. Lab DAO, if you guys see the names, Vita DAO and Pan Vala. Great communities. All of this can be and will be connected with how the IPFS CID works. For a more transparent and semantic internet. Formal architecture structures, rejoice. Next slide, rejoice. Now you can see that there's a lot of work with all that said. Each and every one of them with individual in the best way. They had found a way while being able to explore what could be. There's a lot of power in the world when you decide to finally step into it and be able to express deeply in your way. But then comes the spaces and what they represent to me. My spaces and how they really started for me. From my dreams and the spaces between. I am an avid meditator and a meditation teacher. When I'm in practice, and this one was the first of the Deru tree. Deru means strong truth. Historical linguists believe that tree and true have a common prehistoric ancestor, a belief that is based on the studies of reconstructed ancient language. I keep seeing this in my dreams and my meditations, which then led me to build my first space, Deru, on Mona. This is just the NFT. If you guys want to support, you can. It's on OpenSea, just in case, you know. Deru. It's taking some time to load, so internet. Thank you for your time and space. Thank you. One sec. Deru is part of a much larger collection. It is a wisdom-based artifact project, a series of many to come. During my many times of meditation training, they would appear along with race and art, science merge. It was felt as a guided north. These are meant as an invitation and gift to help and fund sustain projects that do and will involve artists and science. Beyond human stories, cognitive studies, respect time while mending afflictions in its space between. Hit it. That's Deru. As you thank you, thank you. Yes! This is Deru. One day I decided to just, develop some deities and put some Ganesh in there and have some fun with it. You'll see many gods and many beings. This is my first space, so I went a little hard and created platforms. In a way, it's a reflection of my consciousness, or your consciousness, or the echo of it, or the line between it. I can go on and on and on, and on. And on again. These are some previews of the space being built. A lot of people don't know that there are whisper keys in the spaces, so you can jump around and have some fun with it. You can see in the bottom left corner an amulet, which represents a Sisu gem that you can purchase. It's an artifact in my space. It's all created in Unity and blended together in a nice way. See how I did that using words? Oh, this is one of the awesome hub spaces. Quantum fields enrichment space. which was in collaboration with a very good friend, Memory. This was based on the enrichment of a space, a hub space to learn and obtain many fun friends. Here's some clips during the soft open. We spent time discussing and inviting people in, reacting to inspire the space. I had soft opened this for a weekend and invited many, many friends, people who have never used the space before. They barely even put their finger on W. I think you can hear the audio. I call it the enrichment space because I was teaching along the way and listening. A lot of you may note some old nostalgic feelings, which was said by someone who never even plays games. Quantum field. This is how it started, a blank, blank nothingness. A space, my space. Iterations has followed. I focused a lot on the trees. I was really, really about the trees. This space is 3.5 kilometers. I got lost many times and days. Below, you'll see how I mapped it out and did the terrain. And it was a chance to explore the potential behavior. I took a lot of notes during the soft opening. And this is how Mona fits. It extends and helps builders use tools to expand and enrich natural human behaviors. And it's organic as anything else that exists. That's the full entirety of the space. Then I brought friends in. This is us dancing. Patented hoodie situation in the day. My friend was a meditator named Santi, is the panda or the pink bear. This is a video of the first time someone decided to use an avatar and change their appearance. There it goes. I think you can hear them. The audio may be low. But that's the first time they did, and they were very excited about it. My friend had never used an avatar before, and I told him to press N. And in doing so, he started doing some crazy moves. I'll replay it for you. And then we did some more transformation. This is what happened next with the VRM that we released. Check it out. I let myself believe I'm your flickering. Could you catch me? When Mona released the VRM aspect, we all had a lot of fun changing outfits and running around. Ooh. Oh, that's the end of it. Sorry there. Connections. Along the way, we made IRL connections. This is me holding a Mona shirt in NYC. This is me with Metageist. This is me with Memory and MattEmpire. This is me really happy. And then interesting memes happen. Me yelling at reactors. So you're telling me I can be in any reality? Yes. For all we know, we're already in the Monaverse. Hidden artifacts, gallery guests, all in a day's work, hidden box colliders. I'm a Mona builder in the making. Magnetic trails with another space. I hold this one very dear to me. I'm still working on it. This one has something to do and a very good story. One day I'll share it. That's Upon a Path. That's the name of the sculpture, Upon a Path. Garden of Awareness was a space that I built with a friend named Argent. This is our space. We did a lot of fun having an interactive experience about talking about echoes of time and meditation. That's our avatar. That's our space. It reminds you of the awareness of the tree. In our creative process, slide to the right, or the right, Conversations on meditation, mirror neurons, Gaia, digital gardens, connectivity and music, and how they can be adapted into bubbles came to be. Okay, with that said, I'm going to enter into one of my favorite ends of this presentation, 3 minutes. I'm going to do this. Here we go. This is about bridging realities. If you can hear me back there, that'd be really great to listen. This is the last 3 minutes of the space.
Once upon a time,
Beyond the 7 mountains and the 7 seas.
there was,
Or what there was. Or there wasn't.
in the oldest of days and ages of
I don't think you can hear that, can you?
birth,
A birth. That's me.
this isn't a story about who died and where they're standing at,
No. It's a story about harnessing that impermanence.
using its power to transform space, time, reality, living between.
The meditate sweet spot. I invite you to leave the self behind.
The self behind. The logo sees you.
Because you see them.
Limitless potential.
Limitless potential.
The essence.
A tree, the sun, earth, clouds, waves, particles, sounds, electrical.
Electrical.
And it's everywhere. The awareness. As we slowly
Space between its branches, reaching out within growth.
reaching out within the unknown. There's a light. Great mother, dead father, lost child. Maxidarai. Is it good? Because of you.
Through this realm's foundations, you can build upon love and combine to accept what is death, an infinitely tied to connection of
Permanence. The cognitive roadmap we left behind. Who am I?
not far, who am I?
Who am I?
Far, who am I?
Myths,
Myths,
legends,
gods,
words, ancient words, labels,
being, essence,
identity, merging the unknown and the unknown energy. May I, with your guidance, form a space to heal. With you as my teacher,
walking gently in the unknown together.
not mistaking the moon with the finger pointing at it. You are the moon.
It can see you if you guide it.
And even in death, it can guide you to the next.
You can measure the what and the where,
But you can never measure the why.
so they say. We've been dead as long as we've been alive.
Alive. With this pen
With this pen,
of light,
I rewrite. I don't believe.
I don't believe. I. I'm VXGX. Thank you so much.